everybody! If you haven't seen a previous video of mine, then my name is Ayala, and for those of you who have seen previous videos of mine, then I'm sorry that I didn't upload a video for quite some time. January and February were both very hectic months for me. Hopefully I'll be able to upload lots of videos in March and then make up for those 2 months where I hardly uploaded any videos. If you have noticed, I didn't upload a January wrap-up, and what I decided basically to do was to combine both my January and February wrap-up because I didn't read a lot of books in any one of those months. Let's begin. The first book that I read in the month of January, but I actually started in the month of December of 2014, was The Girl with All the Gifts by M.A. Carey. This book follows the story of 5 different individuals as they set out to travel throughout the land in order to find a safe haven in this post-apocalyptic world that they live in. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed the exquisite plot that this book had, but I think it has to do with the fact that I haven't read any other books from the particular genre that this book belongs to. I don't want to say which genre because the whole setting of the book is supposed to be unclear when you are going into this book, and so I think that the best way really to go into it is as blind as you can go into a book. Another thing that I really liked was the different characters. I felt that each character represented a way that a group of people would behave in like a live or die situation, and so we got to see that whole flight versus fight and beat them or join them aspects throughout the story. I really enjoyed the fact that we got scientific explanations for everything since one of the characters was a scientist. We basically start the story through one character's perspective and then we jump through the 5 characters' perspectives all the time throughout the story. But what made this book so enjoyable for me was the fact that, first of all, it was compared to the Pandora myth all the time. If you didn't know, The Girl with All the Gifts is another name for Pandora, and so that comparison all the time between the Pandora myth and between what was going on in the story brings forth all this philosophical kind of questions, I guess you could say, throughout the story that the reader thinks about and wonders about, and I really enjoyed that, as well as the ending. The ending really questions your morality as a reader versus your morality as a person, you could say, which was really interesting for me to see because I was so conflicted about the ending. First of all, it's a very beautiful ending for a very beautiful story, and there's no question about if the ending was good or not for the story, if it was fitting or not. But I felt conflicted on the fact, on one hand, as the reader who's been reading through this character's perspective throughout most parts of the story, as I said before, it jumps between the different perspectives, I feel a certain way about the ending. But on the other hand, as a person, and the person that I am with my principles and my beliefs, I feel very differently than I feel as a reader. So that was really interesting to see. I think that I still now, a month and a half later after I finished this book, I still don't know. I'm still not sure what I really think about the ending. The reason I'm giving this a 4 out of 5 stars is, first of all, I felt like it was a bit slow at some times. There were some things that I wish that we could skip through, as well as some things were more gruesomely detailed. If you have a problem with gruesome, violent scenes, then maybe some of the scenes in the story aren't so much for you. I personally don't have a problem with it, but sometimes I felt like the author was going too much into detail about a certain situation. I'm like, ew, no, we didn't really need to get all that information or all that detail. Another thing that I didn't like, it was sometimes I felt like the reader would benefit more by reading from a different character's perspective in a certain situation, and I really would have wished that certain situations would have been able to read from another character's point of view. Other than that, I really, really enjoyed this book. And I also did a Let's Talk video. It's my first Let's Talk video. I'm going to link that down below where I talk much more in detail the philosophy and the morality that is brought forth in the story if you're interested. After reading The Girl with All the Gifts for like 2-3 weeks, I wanted something that's familiar and known to me and something that I know that I'm going to love. And so after anticipating this book for quite some time and then pushing it back for some reason, I finally picked up Gathering Darkness by Morgan Rhodes, which I read on my Kindle. If you didn't know, Gathering Darkness is the third book in the Fallen Kingdom series. This series is going to consist of 6 books, so we're in the halfway point, which is just like, wow. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. Obviously, I love the series so much, and she took the story into such a different direction than I thought it was going to go. So it really surprised me in a pleasant way, as well as I really enjoyed the fact that we got more scenes from Magnus's point of view and Cleo's point of view, and they're my 2 favorite characters in the series, so that was really fun. We got much more in depth with the mythology of this world, which I really enjoyed, as well as we got 2 characters from a foreign kingdom, and they were like wreaking havoc everywhere, and I really liked them. After reading Gathering Darkness and absolutely loving it, I felt nostalgic, and I felt like it was the right time to reread a certain book and continue on with the series, and that series is the Chemical Garden trilogy by Lauren DeStefano. I read the first 2 books, Wither and Fever, in the month of January. They were both rereads for me, and then I finished off the series with Sever in the month of February. The first book, Wither, follows Rhine. Rhine is trying to exist in this world where she knows she's going to die at the age of 20, and that's because the scientists were able to create a perfect generation, a generation that is immune to every illness known to man, a generation that is stronger, faster, smarter, can live longer. The only drawback is that their children die at the age of 20 for girls, 25 for guys, and they just have to deal with it. And so Rhine is a daughter of a first-generation couple, and she's just trying to exist with her twin brother, Roran. I hope I said his name correctly. And at the age of 16, she's kidnapped in order to be sold to a rich man. And this man turns out to be a son of a very famous scientist who marries a couple of girls all at once in order to be able to get them all pregnant and make sure that his family line keeps on existing, which isn't quite so rare in this dystopian world, because basically every rich man, including the president, acts as if girls are their property and marries a bunch of them in order to be able to reproduce faster, because they're saving the humanity and whatnot. Obviously, you can tell from the way that I described the book that I do not agree at all with this sister wives thing that Laura DeStefano invented. On one hand, I find really fascinating and really interesting to see. I do get the advantages of it, and when I did my Let's Talk video, which I'm also going to link down below, I actually was enthusiastic about the idea. But as the series progressed, and after reading the 3rd book, I'm just like, no, just if humanity fucked itself up, let it fuck itself up. Don't treat women as your property and get them all pregnant because, we're saving humanity, blah, blah, blah. Especially with that ending, it just really pissed me off, okay? But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is the reason that I gave the first book 3.75 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed the plot, I enjoyed Ryan as a character, and I loved reading something that was familiar to me and that I know that I like, and I liked seeing the things that I liked over again. The only thing that bothered me was that the mental illnesses in the story were so romanticized that I just couldn't handle it. Her Stockholm Syndrome, oh my god, can you not see that you're under the influence of a Stockholm Syndrome? Seriously, the fact that the author didn't give it the proper stage of introducing it. And when I read the first book and a bit of the second book, which was when I did my Let's Talk video, it wasn't that bad. It just got worse as the series progressed, and I thought back on the first book, it's just it makes the entire story unbelievable because she's under the influence of the Stockholm Syndrome. Like, God. Then I went on to reading Fever by Lauren DeStefano. Obviously, it's in the same series. And I like this book even this. The fact that I already knew the plot twist kind of ruined the book for me. But let's just talk about a couple of things that I didn't like with this book. First of all, I didn't like any of the characters. I loved the side characters. I would much rather just read about the side characters because I didn't care anymore about the main characters. They were so annoying. The way that Lauren DeStefano addresses withdrawal effects from drugs and prostitution was infuriating. She didn't give it a stage that I think it deserves, and she tried to make it like, oh, everybody gets kidnapped and becomes a prostitute. It's fine. A life being a prostitute is okay considering everything that's going on. Better to be a prostitute than to fight for freedom. But other than that, her writing was enjoyable, so props for that. Then I moved on to the last book in the series, which was Sever by her. I give this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was a satisfying ending for a 3.5 average stars series. Some of the things that happened toward the end were kind of surprising, but overall I predicted the ending. It had a very Allegiant feel to it, totally disconnected from the first two books. Info dumpy, the characters were acting all weird. I don't regret reading this book series. On the other hand, I don't feel like I would have missed anything if I would have never continued on or have never read the first two books in the first place. After reading that trilogy and obviously not really enjoying it as I expected I would, I decided to join in on the Year of Cosby read-along for February, which was to read The Final Empire, the first book in the Brandon Sanderson Mistborn trilogy. If you didn't know, the first book follows a group of individuals as they set out to overthrow this tyrant lord that is ruling their kingdom. I give this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoy books that are centered around political games between very powerful political figures. The second thing that I absolutely loved about this book was the Allomancy. The Allomancy is basically this complex magic system that is based on metals. So basically an allomancer is a person that's able to consume metals and then use them in order to get supernatural abilities. I loved the allomancy in this book so much. I want to be a Mistborn. I seriously do. I think that this is the most complex and beautiful magic system besides Harry Potter that I ever read about. So great job with that, Brandon Sanderson. Many of you are probably wondering, Ayala, why did you give it 4 out of 5 stars? Why not give it 5 out of 5 stars? Because this book is amazing. I agree with you, this book is amazing. But I can give you 3 reasons why I gave this 4 and not 5 out of 5 stars. First of all, Vin. Second, Ellen, or however you say his name. And number 3, their relationship. I found Vin to be an annoying character. I know that Vin and Ellen are some people's favorite characters and favorite couple, but for me it just didn't work. That's the end of my January and February wrap-up. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you had a fantastic month, and may March be an even better month for you. Please comment down below and tell me, what did you read last month? What are you planning to read in the following month? I'd love to know. Thank you for watching this video, and